Volume 1. We started on volume 4, but I realized that a number of people here were they didn't get the first 2 volumes, so they don't know that this is like coming into the middle of the story.
Hold your thoughts, Elijah. Let's do the opening. We gotta do the opening first.
Oh, great.
All right.
Okay.
Putting out a call to the warrior in you, to the healer in you, the king, the queen, the magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Is your destiny.
All right, there we go. Now we got an opening, and I want to welcome everyone back to Magnets, Crystals, Pyramids, Sunday session of I Am. As you well know, we were taking off air, but now we're back. But before our brother Logi begins, for what it's worth, we're just going to acknowledge on this so-called Mother's Day We're going to have an acknowledgement to the divine feminine, the natural, born, divine feminine that we all came through to be in this physical incarnation. So happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mothers that are grandmothers, aunties, and all the future mothers, and all the mothers who are in the veil beyond the physical dance. Happy Mom's Day. We thank you for all your sacrifices. We thank you for all of your patience and wiping our ass, cleaning the diapers. Could you imagine what Logi was as a baby? He must have been one heck of a trip to his mom. So I was. I know all the audience here was quite a piece of work as a little newborn, a toddler, a little adolescent. So through the magical stargate coming into this incarnation, salutations and acknowledgement to all the mothers that are, to all the mothers that were, and all the mothers that will be. We just want to give you a special salutation and thank you. And with the equal amount of energy, we're going to proceed. Put your comments, where you're listening from, what part of the world. Thank you for everyone who are dropping the comments now. Saying good day, family, and let us know what part of the world you are listening.
I'm gonna get you a belt. I gotta just don't call my name.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. And as I was laying in the bed this morning, I was reflecting, Laji, I was reflecting on Willie Carson's words. You know, before you, most of us haven't figured out this life incarnation. Most of us haven't figured out the importance of life experience. We haven't figured it out until almost the end of days. It's not about money. It's not about celebrity status. It's about having Miss Bliss on a Sunday saying Happy Mother's Day. That's what it is about. Salutations.
Happy Mother's Day, Miss Bliss.
Miss Bliss just took off. Oh, there she is. Hold on, y'all. We can't have a Mother's Day without the feminine representation. Let's see. I'll put it right here. Ta-ta. And what happened was Miss Bliss had a time. Hold on, that's her. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, Miss Bliss. Yeah, we just giving you salutations on Mother's Day, Miss Bliss.
Okay.
Thank you. I am not dressed.
Oh, you know what? You could just put your face up, and we're just gonna say Happy Mama's Day. Hey, family, she ain't ready because she had a really nice pre-Mother's Day night. You know, she slept late into the morning, and it's all right. So all we're gonna let you see is the blank wall, but you can hear her voice. Go ahead and tell everybody Happy Mother's Day back at you.
Right. I'll write it.
No, I got you on the microphone.
Oh, okay. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
There it is. There it is. They can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just, I had a nice weekend, so I'm just, kind of chilling and recovering.
That's it, baby. Bask in it. Bask in it. You know, keep the giggles glowing. Keep the giggles flowing. Laji's smiling. He's even trying to see if there's anything to be seen, but it can't. There's nothing to see, Laji. It ain't nothing but an empty screen, brother.
I see that. I see that.
You know, so you know, let the feminine principle be honored and celebrated. So giggle on into the day, Miss Bliss.
I also found the name.
Did you hear what Elijah said?
What did he say?
Say it again, bro.
I found the name for that little discourse that we had last week, and you said find a nice little catchy name for it, and the name I came up with is Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
Mac Daddy?
Mac Daddy. Pure Mac Daddyism.
You are, Laji, you are a hot mess.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Let's roll with it.
Yeah.
Daddy. This Thursday at 7.
Great.
All right.
Great.
All right. So now you're gonna keep an eye on Logic because you know he's gonna be a colorful Scorpio.
Colorful.
To say the least. He's gonna be a colorful Scorpio. All right. Thank you, Daphne. And I appreciate all the comments. We're putting up the comments. We hear people listening from Thomaston, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, New York, Georgia again. Yes, our Bed-Stuy is in the house. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Las Vegas is in the house.
Try from Georgia.
So yeah, we want to thank everybody. We did hey, before you even run in, you got crystals on, Lodgy. You're gonna what's your comment? You want to give an acknowledgement to the Mother's Day principle, brother?
Yes, I would like to.
All right, so I'm going backstage. I'm gonna be producing from backstage.
Great. Okay. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And I would like to give a blessings to all the mothers out there. So God bless you all. And most especially, God bless the sacred mother, the woman we hardly ever get a chance to see, the Padmini. We talked about her before. And God bless you. I would like to see the advent of the coming, what would we call her? Sacred mother. The mother who gives birth to the Messiah, to the divine child. You know, I would like to give a special welcoming and blessing to the divine mother, of which we see very, very few. But God bless you and happy Mother's Day to all. So, you know, I was doing this program here. I'm doing it and I'm saying something's missing. And I'm feeling like I'm not adequate. I'm doing this divine work. You know, Saint Germain's work and everything. And I'm feeling myself inadequate. So I thought, let me give you an idea of what's really going on here, where we're coming from, and why we're even reading this book, or books, volumes of books. I've been on the path for quite a while, you know, 50 years or something like that. Almost 50 years. And, you know, I grew up having these experiences that I could not understand at all. And being raised in a Christian environment, I was really, I just was completely scared to go to sleep at night. And because I'm having these experiences at night, most of them were lofty and really, really beautiful. Some of them were extremely scary. And for a little boy, you know, this was really, really scary for me. So as I grew up, you know, I just had interest in the divine because I'm having these divine experiences. But I wasn't living a divine life at all. And through the grace of God, he just decided, look, you mine, and you're going to be with me. And you need to just surrender to that fact because there's no other way out for you. So by the time I was 22, I ended up living in India with a spiritual master who is God to me. And And I was having these super duper adventures. You know, I was having super duper adventures before I met the guru, living I want to say living a hustling life. And so I'm going from the fire into the frying pan. And it was a really extremely great experience. Now I'm telling you all this because this book that I'm reading, I started back on volume 1, Unveiled Mysteries. So you could see what it's like for someone who a spiritual master uh, embraces and uh, takes on as a student. Because when a powerful spiritual master takes you on as a student, you are going to become a powerful spiritual master. And there is no doubt about it, and it is guaranteed. It's a guarantee, right? Most people don't have much interest in this, but those who are watching this program, you do. And straight away, you're 1 out of 100,000. And so this story that we're reading here is about a guy who's on a path. Sometimes I think, much like many of us, we were on the path and we don't realize how glorious our life really is, how exciting and how adventurous our life really is. We think adventure is just for the people who are in the books, but there's a lot more people that are not in the books than that are in. And I just like to give thanks and praise to a spiritual life, even though I know I falter hither and thither. You know, I'd like to give praise for spiritual life. And I'd like everybody that's listening to these words to take into consideration. If you're here, this is the type of thing you want. And I would say, when the opportunities come, seize them with a passion. Seize them like your life depends on it, for the simple fact your life does. Or the many lives moving forward do. The more you embrace this spiritual life now, the more you embrace this concept of, I want to be God. I want to manifest as God. I want to be the Christ. Christ was the example for me. And I want to be like my brother. I want to be like Jesus, right? Or Muhammad, or Buddha, or Allah for that matter. I want to be like God. I read a story when I was in India. It was a scripture. It was called the Ramayana. And when I read that scripture, I was like, oh my God. So this is what God really is like, you know. And I was totally enthralled over this new concept of God. I was enthralled over God is like this. God is this beautiful. God is this kind. God has all these virtuous qualities, right? A lot different from the Christian God, right? Who enjoys drowning out planets. But and so my whole concept of wow, and then having the guru putting me in states of God consciousness periodically, just to give me inspiration to stay on the path. You know, I was living an extremely adventurous life. Then we did 3 world tours with the guru, and then there was meeting extremely remarkable men and other God men and women. I'm saying all of this to say to those who are listening, this path is not for the guy in the book. This path is for all of us, and it is a glorious path. And you will have many remarkable things happen to you. Many remarkable things, and you'll see them in your visions as you practice your meditation. I kind of like wanted to say something to the listening audience today, mainly because I felt inadequate and that this presentation was dry in my own mind. And I just want y'all to know, the path is for everyone. Everyone will eventually go on the path. Everyone will eventually find themselves on the path. If not in this life, the next or whenever, there's going to come a time that you're going to want to be God conscious. You're going to have the understanding that I want to be God. I understand it now. I understand what it means that man is God. But we're like the little God, right? Because we live in the ego. And once we jump out of that ego in the same way that we jumped into it, there's nothing but God. It is the realization of our own self as God. Now, this guy, Godfrey Ray King, he met, last week we talked about him meeting Saint Germain. And this is like a glorious path. I mean, this is a great adventure. But I would venture to say the average person on the path has these great adventures, and they're life-changing and completely fantastic. I mean, I'm living that life now. So I just kind of wanted to open up this, letting people know sometimes it seems almost even boring, but most of the times it's extremely exciting and a glorious path to be on. When you know that you're in the right path, you experience yourself as this unfathomable love. Anyway, let us begin. Let us begin with where we left off. Godfrey Red King had met beloved Saint Germain, and Saint Germain is dropping knowledge on him. He's telling him secrets. He's taking them on a great adventure, and this is the beginning of their time together. This is the beginning of his discipleship with Saint Germain. And Saint Germain is an extremely powerful saint, an extremely powerful saint. He, in fact, saved this world. He, in fact, saved this world, and or is in the process of saving this world. And so let's continue. So he's taking him back to a life where he was a priest in ancient Egypt, and his wife and his son was in that life too. And he's telling them the things that had happened. Low battery. He's telling them the things that were happening, and that happened in that life, and he's actually taking them back into that life, showing him what he did and who he was. So I want to pick up on the page where we left off, and we'll continue from there. And I really, really love and really need participants, people to participate. And I'm going to get some people to come here, 2 other people to be on screen with me, so there's interaction in this and not me preaching and carrying on. I love the interaction. I love people asking questions. I love people being a part of this great work. And so I'm asking you, send in a question if you have any. You can hit the like too. Send in a question if you have. Send in your questions if you have any. And let's move, and all comments, and they will be heard and they will be addressed. So I'm going to start right now. We're on page 24 of Unveiled Mysteries. We're starting over from volume 1.
Hey, Logic,
So,
hold
yes.
1 second. Hold 1 second. I want us to look at this. I want to start putting this up. This was a profound video clip. It's only 3 minutes, but y'all check this out before we begin. Here we go.
A long time ago, there was a woman who lived in a small house with her husband and 2 children. One day she saw that 3 monks were sitting in front of her house. She did not recognize them. The woman came out of her house and she said, "I don't think I know you, but you must be hungry. Please come in and have something to eat." The 3 monks replied, "Yes, we are hungry, but we have a rule that we do not go into a house together." The woman was a little surprised to hear that. She asked them to explain, "Why don't you go into a house together?" One of the monks explained. He said, pointing to one of his fellow monks, "His name is Wealth," and said, pointing to another one, "He's Success, and I am Love. We don't go to any house together. Now go inside and discuss with your family which one of us you want in your home." The woman went in and told her husband what was said by the monk. Her husband was overjoyed listening to her. "How nice," he said. "If that is the case, then let us invite Wealth. Let him come and fill our home with wealth," he said happily. But his wife disagreed. She said, "My dear, why don't we invite Success? If Success comes in our house, then money will also come automatically, because if you get Success, you will get money too." But the husband wanted money in their home. The wife wanted Success. Then their 10-year-old daughter said, "Mom and Dad, why don't you invite Love into our house? Because if Love comes to our house, then we all will have love and affection for each other, and we will live together with love." The husband and wife liked the suggestion of their daughter. The woman came out and asked the 3 monks, "Which one of you is Love? Please come in and be our guest." Love got up and started walking toward the house. As soon as Love got up and started going inside, Success also got up and started following Love. As soon as Success got up and started following Love, Wealth also got up and started following Success. The lady asked Wealth and Success in surprise, "I only invited love. Then why are you coming in?" The three monks replied together, "If you had invited Wealth and Success, the other two of us would have stayed out. But since you invited love, we have to follow him. Wherever he goes, we go with him. Because wherever there is love, there is also success and wealth." There is a very deep message hidden in this story. If that woman had greedily invited money or success to her house, then she would have been deprived of the other two. But the husband and wife put aside greed and invited love to their home, and behind love also came success and wealth. This shows that when we do something with pleasure, we get success, and ultimately we get wealth too. But if we will run after money, we will not get success or money. Never do any work by getting greedy and trying to chase money. Instead, chase your passion, and success and wealth will follow. Work by getting greedy and trying to chase money.
Okay.
Instead, chase your
It was
passion.
all yours, Brother Laji.
Wealth will follow.
Family, let us begin.
Nice.
That was high
That was
power.
beautiful. That was
Very high
beautiful.
power. Very high power. I guess that's what Jaden is experiencing now.
Okay.
Anyway, oh, that was really beautiful. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. Yeah, that was so beautiful. Anyway, okay, let's start. So he's in the temple there in the temple in Egypt, and he's taking him to another life. So that's where we're going to pick up from where we left off last week. It is the same as though you wore a heavy overcoat in the cold winter atmosphere and only a light suit of clothes on a very warm summer day. Experiences in your light suit of clothes would surely be no less real than those you lived through in your heavy raincoat, in your heavy overcoat. I call this to your attention that you may understand the fuller and less limit activities of life, the fuller and less limits activity of life. We examine the grounds, the surroundings, country, and architecture. Come, let us enter, he said. He is Saint Germain, he said. And as he spoke, stepped forward and passed through the main entrance into the temple itself. We then became living actors and at the same time observers of the following experience. We passed into the main part of the temple and proceeded toward the inner sanctuary. The high priest came directly up to us and seemed to know me. This priest of ancient days, Saint Germain explained, is now your son. A lesser priest appeared whom I immediately felt I knew, and he remarked, the assisting priest was yourself. So Saint Germain remarked, the assistant priest was yourself. So his son was the high priest, and he was the assisting priest. Okay, the assisting priest was yourself. We entered the inner sanctuary, and saw the Vestal Virgin guarding the sacred fire. She whom I now beheld was Lotus, my beloved twin ray, whom I met and married some years ago, and who is the mother of our son. And the son was the high priest. Okay. The scene changed, and we saw a visiting prince from a distant province plans to seize the Vestal Virgin for his bride. All seemed to go well until the high priest was shown a vision of what was about to take place. It disturbed him, but he kept his own counsel, standing guard as the slave of the prince entered. He watched them approach the sanctuary. As they came nearer, he stepped forward and spoke but one word that meant stop. So the priest said one word, which meant stop, in Egypt. One slave, bolder than the rest, came on. The high priest warned him back, but still he came nearer. When he reached a certain sacred circle of force which emanated from the altar, the priest no longer hesitated. He stepped to the outer edge of that protecting radiance, raised his right hand, and pointed directly at the slave. One flash of flame shot forth like lightning, and the slave fell lifeless to the floor. The prince, who was watching, came forward in an insane rage. "Stop!" commanded the priest again in a voice like a clap of thunder. The priest, the prince hesitated for a moment, stunned by the very power of the word, and the priest continued, "Listen to me. You shall not desecrate the highest of God's gift to the temple of life. Be gone before you follow the example of your two brazen, misdirected slaves." The high priest was fully conscious of the power he could yield, and as he stood watching the prince, he was the very embodiment of self-control, of unlimitable force consciously held in obedience to his will. He was majestic, crowned with eternal power. The will of the prince was powerful also, but he had no control over himself. And as another wave of blind rage swept over him, when he found himself again opposed and giving full vent to lust, he rushed forward. The priest, quick as a flash, raised his hand. The flame flashed out a second time, and the prince followed the fate of his former slaves. Saint Germain turned to me and explained the experience still further. "You see," he began, this is the way the quality within every force reacts upon the one who sends it out. The prince and his slaves came with the quality of hate, selfishness, and depravity within their feelings. And when the priest directed the force of which he was the master toward them, it took on their qualities the moment it touched their auras. He merely turned his own feelings and selfishness back upon himself. The priest, in his unselfish effort to protect another, was himself also protected. The incident closed, the scene of splendor vanished, and again we stood amidst the temple ruins. Saint Germain revealed still more to me, which may not be recorded here. This you're going to find. I want to stop here. This is what you'll find in many of these holy works, especially in this one. They take out information that you can. Some of it you can find. Stuff like this you're not going to be able to find because you have no reference. But some of this you can actually find, like in this very books here, or rather these volumes. There's a reference to Jesus coming to a church in Manhattan on 33rd Street. And but they didn't say that, and they just mentioned it. So I went and I researched it and found out the church and the time that it actually happened. And so there's jewels like this dropped in the story as we move along. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And there is jewels all along in this reading, in these pages. And they're extremely, extremely beneficial to everything about your life, your spiritual practices, your wealth, your physical health, and your love with family and friends. These are the four legs of life. Remember this. There is only one way, he went on, to avoid the cosmic will of cause and effect, the necessity for re-embodiment, and that is through the conscious effort to comprehend the law of life. One must earnestly seek the God within. Let's say that again. One must earnestly seek the God within, make permanent conscious contact with that inner self, and hold firmly to it in the face of every condition in the outer life. It will be my pleasure and privilege to show you more, but only for the instructions. But only for the instructions it will bring to yourself and others. Come, we must now return. As we came near my body, he instructed again. Watch the circle of white flame disappear. I looked, it vanished. A moment later, I was back in my body. The sun was sinking, and I knew it would be nearly midnight by the time we arrived home. Place your arm around my shoulder, said Saint Germain, and close your eyes. I felt my body lifted from the ground, but I was not particularly conscious of moving forward. Presently, my feet touched the floor, and opening my eyes, I stood in the lodge. Saint Germain was greatly amused when I asked, how was it that we could come back in this manner without attracting the attention of people about us? And he answered, we many times draw about our bodies the cloak of invisibility when moving among those in the physical form. And the next second, he was gone. Now, this is Godfrey Ray speaking. I had heard of the great ascended masters who could take their bodies with them wherever they go and manifest or bring into visibility anything they desire to use direct from the universal. However, to experience actual contact with one of them was a very different thing, and I tried to realize in full the marvel of the experience. To Saint Germain, it was evidently a most ordinary occurrence. This is I wanted to speak on something here. When you meet, if that is your destiny, to meet a real spiritual master. I'm not talking about the touchy-feely ones, the one that's only into getting money, getting your money, and like this. When you actually meet a spiritual master, it's going to be a lot different than reading books about the spiritual master, like what we're reading now, reading books about how that experience will happen for you, and it's different for everyone, but it is a most momentous undertaking in your life. There's going to be very few things that's going to be as powerful in your life as meeting a God conscious man, meeting a God man or woman. In fact, I can go so far as saying there's going to be nothing more important in your life than meeting that person, because that person is going to take you into the God conscious state and have you sustained there, have you have you have you sustained in the state of love, because this is what God is. God is love, and it is unfathomable. I sat in a quiet contemplation for a long time in deep, deep gratitude, trying to comprehend and to fully realize his explanations of the law concerning desire. He emphasized its importance and activity as a motive power in the universe to propel forward new ideas, compelling an expansion of consciousness to take place within the life of every individual. He had explained it by saying, constructive desire is the expanding activity within life, for it is only in this way that greater and greater ideas, activities, and accomplishments are pushed through into expression in the outer world of substance and form. Within every right desire is a power of its fulfillment. Man is the Son of God. He is commanded by the Father to choose how he shall direct the life energy and what quality he wishes his fulfilled desire to express. This he must do, for free will is his birthright. Okay. It is the function of the outer activity of the intellect to guide all expansions into constructive channels. This is the purpose and duty of the outer self. I want to comment on this last. I'm not going to let it go. I thought you need to comment on this, and let me. Here it is. The most fantastic thing you think you can accomplish, right? If you have some fantastic idea in your mind, it is God putting that idea in your mind in the same way that he's pumping the blood through your body, or he's allowing you to experience the senses that he controls in the same way that he pumps air into your lungs and out, in and out again. We're not doing these things. This is God doing these things. That same way, that great thought that you had, that you felt that I'm not great enough for this, right? Uh, and we're going to call that the fear of greatness, because every human being is a great being. Every human being, before they take birth, before they take their first breath, is 1 in 500 million. That's how many other spermatozoa was trying to pierce that egg or get to it and pierce it. So you're automatically an exceptional being, but there is nothing more powerful than being yourself. Here it is. I had a great desire to do, but this desire was way above my conscious thinking, but it just kept coming back into my mind. It was God thinking. And then I said, all right, God, but to do this, well, I'm going to need like about, I'd say $300 billion to do this. Now, how am I going to make $300 billion? There ain't a lot of $300 billion in this world. How am I going to make that? To me, at the time, it seemed like a gargantuan sum of money. But this is how God works. Whatever we think basically is wrong, generally. We go to thinking, and it ain't God thinking for us. We're really going off. So God said to me, he said, look, $300 billion is nothing to me. It's chump change. And I'm going to put you in a position where you can get trillions of dollars. Right? And here it is. I'm in that situation now. This $300 billion is before me. I know exactly what to do with it now. But God put me in a position to get $1 trillion. I know this sounds so fantastic, y'all. It just sounds so fantastic. But the things that are fantastic to us, like flying in the air with airplanes before airplanes were invented and all the other magical things that our technology has brought before us, this thing is like nothing to God. He can put that before us in a nanosecond. So let me continue. It is the function of the outer activity of the intellect to guide all expansions into constructive channels. This is the purpose and duty of the outer self, to allow the great life, or God's energy, to be used only for the gratification of the sense desires, the habit of the mass of humanity. It is destructive, in its destructive use, and it is always without any exception. I want to read that again because it didn't come out clear. It is the function of the outer activity of the intellect to guide all expansions into constructive channels. This is the purpose and duty of the outer self, to allow the great life, or God's energy, to be used only for the gratification. All right, something's wrong here. To allow the great life, or God's energy, to be used only for the gratification of the sense desires, the habit of the mass of humanity, in its destructive use, and is always, without any exception, followed by inharmony, weakness, failure, and destruction. I wasn't getting it, but I get it now. In other words, we let our energy, the energy that God gives us, the God energy, to be used in whatever it is that we desire. Not so much for what is constructive, but basically just desire of what we want. The constructive use of desire is the conscious direction of this limitless God energy by wisdom. All desire directed by wisdom carries some kind of blessing to the rest of creation. All desire directed by God within goes forth with the feeling of love and blesses always. The next few days I spent writing this record of my experience in his diary. Then, one morning, on awakening, I found the golden card laying on the table near my couch. It looked like a piece of metallic gold, and on it, in beautiful shaded script of a lovely violet color, was just one short sentence. Be at our trysting place on the mountain at 7 in the morning. Trysting in the morning. Signed, Saint Germain. So be at our trysting place on the mountain at 7 in the morning. Signed, Saint Germain. I put this card away carefully and could scarcely wait the intervening time. So great was my expectation. Early the next morning, while preparing a lunch, there came a distinct impulse not to take anything with me. I obeyed and decided to trust that my needs would be supplied directly from the universal. Light of heart, I was soon on my way, determined not to miss any opportunity to ask questions if permitted. As I approached the appointed place, my body became lighter and lighter until by the time I was within a quarter of a mile, my feet scarcely touched the ground. There was no one in sight, so I sat on a log to wait for Saint Germain, feeling no fatigue whatsoever, although my hike had been about 10 miles. As I contemplated the wonderful privilege and blessing that had come to me, I heard a twig crack and looked around expecting to see him. Imagine my surprise when not 50 feet away I saw a panther slowly approaching. My hairs must have stood on end. I wanted to run, to scream, anything. Frantic, so frantic was the feeling of fear within me. It would have been useless to move, for one spring from the panther would have been fatal to me. My brain whirled, so great was my fear. But one idea came through clearly and held my attention steady. I realized that I had the mighty presence of God right within me, and that this presence was all love. This beautiful animal was a part of God's life also, and I made myself look at it directly in the eyes. Then came the thought that one part of God could not harm another part. I was conscious of this fact only. A feeling of love swept over me and went out like a ray of light directly to the panther, and with it went my fear. The stealthy tread ceased, and I moved slowly toward it, feeling that God's love filled us both. The vicious glare in the eyes softened. The animal straightened up and came slowly to me, rubbing his shoulders against my leg. I reached down and stroked the soft head. It looked up into my eyes for a moment, then laid down and rolled over like a playful kitten. The fur was a beautiful dark reddish brown, the body long, supple, and of great strength. I continued to play with it, and when I suddenly looked up, Saint Germain stood beside me. My son, he said, I saw the great strength within you, or I would not have permitted so great a test. You have conquered fear. My congratulations. You, had you not conquered the outer self, I would not have allowed the panther to harm you, but our association would have ceased for a time. Let me speak on this, y'all. This is how the masters work. They give you a test. The test is not written on the board. Tomorrow's a test. Study your notes. The test comes unaware. And for you to make the progress that you will make, the test must be passed. Some tests, and very few of these tests, you cannot pass. You just have to go through that experience. Most of the tests you can, if you will. If you pass the test, it's like you're given a golden coin to go now. You can go forward. You can go more forward. Imagine a gold coin being put in your hand and saying, now go forward. The test, the test is to see where we're at, really. The test is to see where we're at. Sometimes the test, sometimes, most all the time, you realize you have no idea of what the test really is trying to present to you. There's been tests that I passed, and there's been tests that I did not pass. Here's the deal, y'all. When the test comes, when the test comes, do your best to pass. Sometimes you know this is a test. I need to be doing this. And sometimes you don't know. All the time, you should be thinking about passing that test. All the time. Every time a test comes, try your best to pass it. Every time your spiritual tests come, try your best to pass it. And you know when they are. You know when, I'm being tested. Let me do what I need to do. If you don't pass that test, don't beat yourself up. and stay on the path. One thing I'll tell you from my direct experience, um, when these tests come, the greatest likelihood, if you don't pass, they won't return. You won't be given a chance to another test. But if you sincerely stay on the path, it is a possibility another test will come. These tests catapult you to a whole nother level. You will make quantum leaps passing these tests, and you will set yourself up to pass the next test and the next and the next. Let me continue. I wanted to tell you a story about a test I had with a goddess. She appeared before me. Let me tell you the test. Let me tell you the story. I had a goddess appear before me, and she was in another dimension, and I was catapulted into that dimension. And I could see all the beings that were around. I could see the force of God coming into my head. I could see everything, but I was afraid. I didn't have enough humility, and I was afraid. And I stayed there looking at this goddess, and I was like, I was afraid. So I got up and walked away. I could have asked the goddess any number of things. I had read about this experience, and I was waiting for an experience like this to happen to me. And when it came, I flinched. Did it happen again? No, it did not happen again. How long ago did it happen? I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. Oh no, it was over 30 years ago. It was over 30 years ago. And the goddess did not return. I did not get another vision and experience of this goddess. In fact, I was meditating, and I saw her appear in my meditation. I opened my eyes. There she was. You know, I closed my eyes again. There she was. I'm having a high-powered divine experience. And instead of having the humility necessary to quelch fear, I got up and walked away. I want to warn y'all. Y'all don't know how the tests are going to come. They're going to be supernatural. Often, they'll be supernatural. And when these supernatural experiences come, do your best to pass them. Do your best to pass them. It will catapult you into another reality, into another state of consciousness and progress on the spiritual path. Okay. I did not have anything to do with the panther being there. I did not have anything to do with the panther being there, Saint Germain is saying. It was part of the inner operations of the great law, as you will see before the associations with your newfound friend ceases. Now that you have passed the test of courage, it is possible for me to give much greater assistance. Each day, you will be stronger, happier, and express much greater freedom. He held out his hand, and in a moment, there appeared 4 little cakes of a beautiful golden brown, each about 2 inches square. He offered these, and I ate them at his direction. They were most delicious. Immediately, I felt a quickening, tingling sensation through my entire body, a new sense of health and clearness of mind. Saint Germain seated himself beside me, and my instructions began. Okay, so here's his instructions beginning. Instead of going forth from the body, as in your recent experiences, today we will use the projected consciousness, he remarked, as he placed the thumb of his right hand between my eyes and the rest of his fingers over the top of my head. A feeling like a powerful electric current passed over my entire body. Removing his hand, he continued. Now, I want to give you all an idea of what this is. Placing this here thumb into the pineal gland and then putting the other fingers on the head like this. This is what is called Shaktipat Diksha. He is putting his divine energy, or the divine energy of God, into his head, and his other fingers on top of the head. Something like that, sort of. or when you do it, it comes in like that, and you're putting that right in the pineal gland, and then the other fingers are right on the top of the head, right? Like that. That's called Shaktipat Diksha. It's the highest form of initiation you could receive. All right. I wish you to fix firmly in mind and recall frequently for contemplation the fact that the laws I explain and teach you to use are to bring you into a condition of conscious mastery over all forces and things on earth. This means that no matter what is being experienced, you are always at every instance in complete conscious control of your own mind and body and able to use your own free will at all times. In this state of projected consciousness, you are completely conscious and have full mastery over all your faculties every instant. This is nothing whatsoever about any of this instruction. There is nothing whatsoever about any of these instructions and its use that is either of the trance or hypnotic condition at any time. For both, for in both trance and hypnosis, the experiencing individual conscious will is not functioning, which is a most dangerous and disastrous activity to anyone who permits it to take place in his mind and body. So never give up your mind to someone else. Never allow someone else to take possession of your mind or to get into your head and take possession of your mind. There's no conscious mastery or dominion in trance or hypnotic practices, and they are most destructive and dangerous to the soul growth of the one who permits such practices. Please understand thoroughly that the conscious control, mastery, and use of the forces and things on this earth should at all times be under the direction of your inner or God self through the perfect cooperation and the obedience of all outer faculties in both mind and body, and to that inner guidance. There is no such thing as mastery without this, and those who know as the ascended masters never intrude any activity upon the God-given prerogative of the individual's free will. A student may be given the experience of projection if an ascended master chooses to expand his consciousness temporarily so that he experiences things happening in two or more places at the same time. In such a condition, the student's faculties are completely under control and direction of his free will at every moment. He is fully conscious and active wherever his body may be, and also at the place to which the ascended master chooses to direct his attention for the instruction. The reason an ascended master temporarily raises the consciousness of the student is to show him how he may do this same thing for himself by his own effort, consciously and at will. Definitely need to make a to make a comment here. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Many of these experience techniques and powers we're told about, but for the most part, the average human beings think the moment that they do it, they should see results, which is not the case. It's like lifting weights. I've said this, and it's literally like lifting weights. The more you practice, the more progress you will see. The more you practice, the more progress you will see. I have a book here on time travel. It tells you how to travel in time. So here's the deal. There are techniques in the book. The thing to do is to keep practicing the technique, just like astral projection. You don't automatically get out of the body just because you want to astral project. You study the science, and you keep practicing the techniques until you could just slip out your body just like that. It is the same way with the spiritual practices that we would be calling um, magic, right? It's it simply is conditioning your mind to unleash its powers, because there is no power. There is no limit to the power of the mind. So as you practice, like lifting weights, various techniques of whatever it may be that we call supernatural, you will get proficiency in that practice. You will get better and better at it, and you will master the technique until you can manifest or time travel or any number of other things, clairvoyant, clairaudience, all this you will be able to do if you practice. So as you get these techniques and you're given a mantra and you're given chants to sing and so forth, you practice it, you get mastery. You repeat the name of God, you become God. How is it that you're going to become God? Just by saying the name of God. Well, this is the nature of the name of God. It is transformative. It transforms you into what you say. You become God. So you mean to say, all I got to do is repeat the name of God? All I got to do is say, Allah, millions of times? All I got to do is say, Om Namah Shivaya? All I got to do is say, Hari Om, any number of other mantras, and I'll become God? The simple answer is yeah. That's the simple answer. You just got to do it millions of times. If you do the mantra Om Namah Shivaya 130 million times, which would take about 15 years, God will come to you and ask and say, ask a boon. I said this many times and expect me to say it many more times. The more you do the mantra, the closer you become to God as God. The mantra, once spoken through the power of the spoken word, literally manifests before you. The God form manifests before you. You're just unable to see it, but it manifests directly before you. And the more you say it, the more it's almost as if you're coloring the vision of this image that you're evoking through the power of the spoken word. And the more you say it, the more full this vision gets, the more solid it gets, until God appears directly before you and says, ask a boon. You get whatever you want. Ask a boon. At that time, do not be afraid like I was. Do not get up and walk away from God. Do not tell God, get out of here. Some people have done that. Be humble. Ask God, to what do I deserve, for you to give me your dasha?
Hey, Logic, I got a comment. The way you speak of it, as far as reaching godhood, you make it sound like it reminds me. It's effective, but I think it's called. It's like a style from boot camp. Now, if you don't do these 100 push-ups, you're not going to get enlightened. But you can do it that way. But I just want to share with the family. There's another way that's also known. I think it's Logic. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's called Bhakti Yoga.
Ah,
It speaks of devotion, that you create a love serenade. You slow dance with God, even if it's incarnate in a woman or in a man, where you are doing this just because love is who you are. And in Bhakti Yoga, it says you can become enlightened overnight by devotion from your heart. So yeah, you can, put on combat boots and have the discipline. That's good. But for those of you who are in the feeling rhythm, then you can give devotion like to the divine and just talking to the divine that lives in you, or reaching out to ascended masses. So I just want to say you can reach heightened levels through the, I would say for now, the Motown sound of love. For myself, I prefer the Motown sound of love. I ain't gonna ritualistically hut to God, here I come to you. It works. It does work, but I'd rather sing my way to the Lord. And that's where Christianity is so hypnotic because of the devotional songs. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. You know, just want to share that, brother. But thank you for sharing that.
I want to veggie back on that and say that Bhakti Yoga, in my opinion, and according to the great masters, is the highest of all the yogas. And God gives you the greatest, God gives the disciple or the seeker of truth on the path the greatest considerations in Bhakti. In fact, there's there in I don't know if it's the was it Lagu Yoga Vishishta, Yoga Vishishta, where God is telling the disciple, none is more dear to me than those who approach me with love. You know, those who worship me, you know, with love. And even the repetition and see mantra, when you repeat it just audibly, like on the Mashvah, on the Mashvah, on the Mashvah, or Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, or whatever mantra you want, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, whatever you, so you can repeat it like that, but you could also repeat it with love. And the easiest way to repeat the mantra with love or with bhakti is chanting, singing to God, singing to God. I used to make up chants all the time, like with Motown music. In fact, Hank, I swear, I used to take the mantras and I would put them in a rhythm of some of the songs I like from back in the day, you know, and I'd be chanting throughout the day. So, you know, also a way to show love to God is through your service. You know, through your service. It doesn't matter if you work in the kitchen or you work in the carpentry shop or the electrical shop or whatever shop the guru may have, if he has any of these type of things. It doesn't matter what you do. You do it because you love God. You want to let God, you know, through your service. So Bhakti Yoga can be expressed with all the techniques, with mantra, with chanting, with meditation, with service. Bhakti Yoga is, I would have to say that is the heart of the path.
Man, I believe that, family, listen to this. The best singers in the world, you can sing those songs like Patti LaBelle, the way she sings, that's Bhakti Yoga to the divine. Marvin Gaye, as much as he loved his mom, he was singing Bhakti Yoga songs to his mom and the sisters. You know, Luther Vandross, you know, the greatest singers is doing, I really believe, Laji, it's like Bhakti Yoga.
You know, when I hear some of the Motown, the people are just melanated people, period. Not that other people don't have that love and devotion. But when I was listening just the other day to Ray Goodman and Brown, and they were just having fun chanting a happy anniversary. That was a song they wrote, happy anniversary. I mean, it was crushing it too. And you could just hear in the background, they was laughing at how good each other was singing. And they was just laughing in the background. You could just hear and feel the love just projecting through the, you know, happy anniversary, and get down, Bill Brown, my dear. You know, like, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Huh?
That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like the moments when they sung that song, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
And then they did singing it in French. Oh, la vie, candela. Man, that's Bhakti Yoga to me,
that's
bro.
Bhakti Yoga. That's Bhakti Yoga, 100%. You know, that's Bhakti Yoga, 100%. And but now imagine, there was a time we were chanting, right? This was like it was more than 24 hours. We were chanting for a week straight, 24 hours, right? And there was this famous a drummer, and he didn't like me. And he was trying to tell me what to do in the chant. I'm like, man, get out of here. You ain't controlling me. And then he wanted to make an example out of me, that if I don't listen to him, he's going to get up and leave the chant, right? So he got up and leave the chant thinking that I would be the one that was the cause of it, and everybody would look at me as the bad guy. And he got up and walked out of the chant. which was a mistake on his part. And there was a guy, and I saw this guy. I was looking through the window of the temple, and he was looking in. And so this guy gets up, and as soon as he gets off of the drums, he comes into the temple and he sits down. Nobody told him he could sit down. Nobody asked him to do it. He just got up. He walked over to the drums and he sat down. And he started tuning up this this drum, call them a drum, right? You hit it on both sides, like, you know, with my hands up, like that. You hit it like that, right? So I'm in the chant with a guy named Bima, and Bima was usually the drummer in the evening chants, but this was a you know, like a week-long chant, and we just going for it. We were chanting the name of God so hard, it was like we were eating nectar. But when this guy got on the drums, he went to tune it up, and he just hit it one time. His hand like, just hit it just like that. Just hit it one time, just bam. And as soon as he hit the drum, I looked at my buddy, Bima. Bima looked at me, and we were like, who is this? I mean, one tap, and we knew something was totally different. So he started tuning up the drum thing, and then he started. And we was doing the 16-syllable mantra. And then he started. I mean, he took us on a roller coaster. We went to heaven. I've never chanted with so much love and enthusiasm and power. It was as if we were eating God's name. It was like drinking nectar in the form of the mantra. And I mean, and then I realized that is not an ordinary human being. That's God. That was God. Lord Krishna came into the chant as an ordinary human being and started drumming. No human being could do what he did. That was not ordinary drumming by any stretch of the imagination. And the guy that got up and left was famous in India as a drummer. This dude made him look like a amateur. Oh my God. I'll never forget this in my whole life. He took us to the butter. No bread.
Like the Philly sounds, man.
Oh man.
You know, giving acknowledgement to stylistics where they sing the song "You Are Beautiful" to women. That's bhakti, man. They sing it to the divine feminine, man. Teddy Pendergrass, you know, Gamble and Huff, Philly sounds. That's bhakti yoga, and the children that were born from that era had to be special.
Yeah, they were. You know, they were the children of the baby boomers. That they were. Nonetheless.
That love, that old soulful love sound.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's, to me, that's bhakti.
That's bhakti. Yeah. That's pure bhakti. It's pure bhakti. It was something I was about to say. In this relationship, it slipped my mind. It'll come back. Yeah, but the thing about this thing with repeating the name of God with love, there's no way you're gonna remain an ordinary human being by doing that.
I'll be right back, bro. I gotta go get me some tea. Talking about all this bhakti.
Let me continue. Yeah, bhakti yoga. This is the highest yoga of all, yo. Okay. Projected consciousness is but increasing the rate of vibrations of the atomic structure in both the mind and body of the student. Projected consciousness. What is projected consciousness? Repetition of the name of God. Okay. Anyway, this is done by the radiation from the ascended masters and is an activity of the light, which increases the vibratory rate up to the keynote. He set for the experience. Okay. This is done by the radiation from an ascended master and is an activity of the light, which increases the vibratory rate up to the keynote. He set forth the experience. In the higher rate, one uses his faculties of sight and hearing exactly as he does in his daily life, except that they are expanded into the next octave or zone above the human. Above the human. Such use of our senses is the same as we experience every moment of the waking state, because we can become aware of that which is near and that which is distant at exactly the same instant. The expansion or contraction of our consciousness is dependent entirely upon what the individual desires. This is always subject to the free will and conscious direction of the student. One can, of his own choice, be conscious of a certain tree in his garden or of the entire garden. He uses the same faculty of sight to observe both and uses it in exactly the same way. When he wants to see all of the garden, he makes his sight enlarge its activity until it takes in all he desires. The larger expansion still includes the smaller. So you see, you must be conscious of the full control of all your faculties in both places at the same time. The activity that takes place is really an enlargement of the force field in which the sight acts. Check it out. The activity takes place, the activity that takes place is really an enlargement of the force field in which the sight acts. I want to make a statement here. It was a time when I was doing my spiritual practices in India that I was making a big leap. A big leap. It's like love possessed my heart, but I had enemies. Yes, you can have enemies in the ashram. At least you can make them up in your mind. And there was this one guy. He was starting trouble with me every day. He was an Indian guy, and he was the valet of the guru. So he was probably the closest person to the guru, but he was starting trouble with me all the time, right? And one day, I had got a number of people in the ashram, and I said, well, let me get everybody that I'm considering my enemy in the ashram or who's messing with me in the ashram. I'm going to get them all. And today is going to be the day that I get them all. So every night, this guy would walk by me in the ashram, and my roommate saw this, he would see this every single night. And I told him, I'm going to get this dude because I'm sick of him. He's going to get it like everybody else. And that was a day I got a number of people. And the guru had already reprimanded me, right? But me and my cuckoo-ness, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna let him know if you ever, right? What happened to my sense of sight? Oh, this is the thing. He did not pass by me that day. That day, he did not come the way he came every single solitary night. Now, I thought the guru was giving me a break, but he was actually giving me a powerful experience. He didn't come by that time. So I missed him. But I still had this negative feeling, this dislike, which is hate. Dislike is a mild form of hate. I just want to let y'all know. All right. So I still had this feeling for him. And the next day I see him in one of the offices in the ashram. Right. And I focus on him because I figured no time. I'm going to now. Right. And what happened was my sense of sight, like as if it was a movie, shrunk down to like about that. Instead of me having this expansive sight, see everything was now shrunk into like this, something like that. Everything was there, but it was shrunk like that. And the consciousness that came upon me was, this is what you're doing to your consciousness. You're shrinking it. You're shrinking it down to this little thing. Just word to the wise. Hate diminishes you in every single solitary way. You may think this has nothing to do with hate. Hate diminishes you in every single solitary way of your being, of your consciousness. Word to the wise. Oh, someone's asking the question. Do you think you can enhance the experience or open up your consciousness with psilocybin, ayahuasca, Zanga, San Pedro on your journey to godhood? The answer to that question is 100% yes, you can. These medicines are not going to take you to the God conscious state and settle you there or stabilize you there. But my experience is every time you use it, you go a little higher in your state of consciousness. You're left a higher level than you were. And the more you use it, you just go to higher and higher levels. If you're living the right life, and you're doing this to unleash or open up your consciousness, not to not not just to be having a phenomena or experience or get high. You know, they are aids to take you to your spiritual consciousness, and they leave within you the residue, like uh almost like you have to go after it again. You have to go after it. You can't sit back and just let your life continue as it was before. I mean, if you have a level of consciousness, because some people are doing these medicines just to get high, and my experience, and they're not having the experiences I'm having. You
Yeah,
know,
I want to tap into that. This is all right. The question that was asked by Gianita. That's a good question, Gianita. I want to thank you for asking that question. From my personal experience, and I'm gonna share this. All of the entheogens are a form of concentrated light, ethereal light. Talking about the spirit light, the concentrated energy. That's how, after a thunderstorm, you may see uh, shrooms, psilocybin materialized overnight on cow dung, overnight, because it literally materialized from spirit. So when you take shrooms with a prayer or affirmation, it's going to accelerate your chakras, and anything that unaddressed trauma will be brought to your attention for the purpose of forgiving yourself, forgiving someone else that may have traumatized you, or to release the trauma that's caught in the fan blade of your chakras. My personal experience riding on San Pedro up on Wachuma Mountain, Laji,
right?
is if you put in the work, the heart chakra will be enhanced with the San Pedro, and the cleansing is excellent. The emotional, uh, physical, mental cleansing, ayahuasca is definitely a cleanser and an activator. But what I like, and I think maybe I'll have some today, is I'm going to microdose Wachuma, or what is called San Pedro. Well, I gotta tell you, family, I've seen people take plenty of Wachuma, plenty of the plant medicine, and I don't think they're listening. They're looking for the buzz. Like Laji said, you got to put in the work. If you're going to go, if you just want some get high, just going down to the corner liquor store. But you got to really, if you're sincere about becoming love supreme, or as Laji was saying about the bhakti yoga, microdosing can definitely help you, and even in the journey. But you got to be courageous, because people do not want to see their own bullshit. And when they do, how do you address it? Because you can get an ass whooping on some entheogens. But if you stay humble and say, well, what can I do to amend this? That's where the Ho'oponopono can be very helpful. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And you know what's the hardest thing to do, family? And Laji, is to forgive yourself.
Oh yeah.
Forgive yourself. Because you are the reason for the season. But yeah, you got to put in the work, Gianita. Even if you do rapid breathing, fire breath, that's a whole nother subject, but because that stimulates your internal psychedelics. So one way or another, you got to face yourself. So I just want to share that. I'm stepping out.
Definitely. The medicines inspire you to get more serious about the path, because the medicines will take you into states of consciousness that you know are divine. This is why I don't do the medicines with anybody just coming along. You know, I would like to come and do your, if you don't do the practices with me, if you're not doing the prayers, the decrees, the chanting, and the meditation with me for at least a month, I won't serve you. You can go to somebody else that they do it. Maybe they want money. I don't know. I don't care. I asked the ascended masters, please send to me serious people, people who really want to experience. I don't even do the medicines as often as I want to. If you're not doing the practices, I won't do it with you, you know, because I'm not looking for you to get high. I'm looking for you to have an experience of yourself as God. That's what it's all about, you know. God in the sky, don't look for him there, y'all. Look for him in your heart. Look for him in the pineal gland, you know, in the sky, and there's a lot of sky out there, a lot of space. Don't look for God in space. Look for him in your heart. Anyway, let me continue. And so, yes, to answer that question point blank, straight away, yes, the medicines will help you to attain God consciousness, but it will not put you in a state of God consciousness permanently, unless that is a boon that you have. I mean, the path is so deep, y'all. I mean, I know of some people that attain God consciousness on the battlefield, killing people, and other people attaining God consciousness like Sukkah on the downstroke. So God consciousness can be had in many, many ways, y'all. When I say the downstroke, I mean Tantra. And hey, you know, but just keep going for it. Just keep going for it. It will come. If you keep going for it, it will come. The use of your faculty of sight in this projection or expansion of consciousness is accomplished by the rising of the vibratory rate in the optic nerve. The whole process corresponds to the thing that takes place when you use a field or marine glass. What is that? The whole process corresponds to the thing that takes place when one uses a field or marine glass. Now, I don't know what marine glass is. Uses a field. All right, let's just continue. In ordinary experience, human consciousness has been accustomed to use its faculties only within certain zones or force fields. And the proof of this is that one can listen to the sound of a person's voice who is physically present in the room speaking to him. And one can also hear the bell of a telephone ring somewhere else in the house at identically the same instant. Okay. All the faculties of the outer activity are elastic. They may be used as either a microscope or a telescope, depending entirely upon the desire and will of the individual. If one can be conscious of sound room in which his physical body stands, and also be aware of sound 2 or 3 rooms distant by exactly the same process, in a still further expansion of this faculty, he can hear at a more distant place. To do this, one must increase the vibratory rate until it reaches into the more distant zone. Yeah, let me not let that go by as if we didn't say nothing. As you do your spiritual practices, as you praying, decreeing, chanting, meditating, serving the spiritual master or humanity, as you do these things, your vibratory rate increases, it speeds up. This is what happens. And this is what happens inside your brain, to the pituitary and pineal gland. They start vibrating at a very, very fast rate until you trip what is esoterically known as the opening of the third eye. But the more you do your practices, the more your vibration increases until you're not in a human state of vibratory expression. You're in a God state.
Elijah, I want to touch on what Miss Bliss was saying about and Tantra. Family, if you take your time with Tantra in love making, you make it a prayer, a devotional prayer that you see your beloved as the epicenter of soulful sounds, Philly sounds, love songs. Don't be in it to stick it, my brothers. Be in it to love it. Just pray over the punani. Pray over everything while you slowly massage with hot oil to make it a devotional act. Forget about, brothers, forget about your little baby Huey and let all of your skin see what it's like to put some warm oil and just hug while you massage the whole body and have each other embraced in an oily warmth of tenderness while you pray and chant to God. And sisters, pray to the stick, pray to the totem pole, pray, devotionally pray. It's all about your attitude. Have gratitude. Pray for all the trauma that the woman has been through before she met you. And sisters, pray away all the trauma from the brothers and what they may have gone through. Pray. Pray like it's your last day. Make love like you're gonna die tonight. That's each day, make it your last day. And so that you literally pray into the afterlife in a dance of slow devotional love. That's what it's all about.
What it's all about.
That's what it's all about. It ain't about oh wow, I popped. Nah. You just slow dance all the time. All right? All the time. She doesn't be making the phone ring. I gotta hang that thing up. Pray. Make everything an act of prayer. I even pray while I'm riding my bicycle. Pray while you're driving your car. Pray while you caress and massage your lover's scalp. That's all I want to say. Peace out.
Now, Uncle Hank done opened up the door, so I can't just completely close it, y'all, because the act of sex is an act of love, or should be. So let me give you an idea of the sacred act of love. What is it like when you decide, I'm not just going to be having sex with this woman or this man? They're going to feel my love. They're going to feel it. They're not just going to feel, a penis sliding in and out. They're going to feel love emanating over the whole body. Imagine this. Consider this, y'all. You want to reach your husband. You want to reach your wife. Now, the husband, so that there's no child produced behind this, you want to reach the mind of your wife. You want to reach the mind and heart of your spouse, husband or wife, right? Things could be happening in your relationships, but I've never even heard of a couple that's arguing while they have sex. You're always harmonious and loving when you're having sex. Why not take it to the highest level? Why not see the God in your husband and the goddess in your wife? Speak to that goddess. Speak to that God. And let me take it further. Worship that God who is your husband. Worship him as your Lord. Worship your husband as your Lord, as you wave the lights around him and you say the mantra to your Lord, who is your husband. Wave the lights to your goddess, who is your wife. She brings forth life, right? She is the goddess of the earth. She brings forth life to the earth. Check it. Get the most auspicious day and take the most auspicious time in the day to make love to your mate, right? If you want the arguing or whatever is going on in your marriage that's bringing disharmony, as you make love to your wife, repeat the name of God. You should both be repeating the name of God to one another, the mantra to one another, as you make love, the whole while you are making love. it will be felt. As you do this, if there was a problem in your relationship, speak to the husband, speak to the wife. You speak to me with cruelty, and I love you. Please just speak to me with love. Or you're doing this, and I love you. Please stop and just let me love you. You know, speak what you want in that relationship. I'm telling you something. This is magic. It is high magic, and it will bring about results that you could not get stopping and talking to your mate. They're blind. It's going over their head. They're so used to you telling them that same thing over and over again, they can't hear you. But when you do it in the sacred act of love making, they hear you, they feel you, they understand. Imagine this, y'all. You worship your mate, husband and wife, you know, like you would worship God, literally, like you would have a picture of God and you do the puja to it, or the worship to it. You do that to the husband. The wife does it to the husband. The husband does it to the wife. Then you call on the gods to bless this union here, right? And then begin to make love with the name of God on your lips out loud. Do this and watch what happens. Do this and watch what happens. All right. This I would charge $1,000 to teach. It'll be a little bit more elaborate than this couple of minutes I just told you. I would charge thousands of dollars to teach the sacred act of love to bring in a child, or to change the mind and heart of your mate. Anyway, let's continue. I just had to drop. I had the veggie back on Uncle Hank. All right. When you contemplate this great inner God activity, do you not see how perfectly and readily the outer senses merge into the inner, and what has been two become one? This activity of consciousness can be applied to all the other senses, as well as those of sight and hearing, right? You can hear something close to you, and you can hear something far away. Such a raising process is natural, normal, and harmonious, as simple as the tuning of your radio to an desired wavelength. Radio wavelengths, and those of sight and hearing are part of the same activity. Sound contains color, and color contains sound. In, in ordinary daily experience, human beings can hear, color, and see sound. Whatever they become still enough. Within certain octaves or zones, vibrations registered upon the nerves of the eyes, and the result is what we call sight. Let me read that again. Within certain octaves or zones, vibratory vibrations registered upon the nerves of the eyes, and the result is what we call sight. Others registered upon the nerves of the ears, and the result is what we call hearing. The average person sees the average person's eyes only sees objects those vibratory rates come within their certain octaves. They can only see within their own octaves, for they do not see below the infrared or above the ultraviolet ray or zone. Through the radiations of an ascended master, the atomic structure of the brain and eyes vibrate fast enough to expand into the next octave above the human. This same activity, excuse me, this same activity can be expanded several octaves further, either by the master's radiation or at the command of the inner or God self of the individual. Many persons do have such experiences involuntarily, but rarely understand what they mean or how they come about. In cases where individuals have had moments of transcendent consciousness or been highly inspired, this is what has occurred, although they seldom recognize the assistance they have been given. Projected consciousness or vision has nothing whatsoever to do with mental pictures produced by suggestions that exist only in the mind of other human beings. Such thoughts and pictures are but flashed directly into the mind of another person by the one sending the suggestion. It is the same activity that takes place when one reflects the image of the sun into a mirror and then deflects it upon the wall. Suggestions is as different from projected consciousness as thinking about a place indifferent is different from being physically present. Projections is vivid, living, real. Projection is vivid, living, real, as when your physical body is going through an experience. For it is the action of your inner God self with whom the ascended master is one, the supreme. Excuse me. Saint Germain and I then became observers and actors in a scene of long ago. Again, I was outwardly conscious of going through experiences shown me in thought, feeling, and action. The entire operation was as natural and normal as breathing, and the only unusual sensation about it was the feeling of greater freedom and a sense of dominion. We both became very still for a few moments as he revivified the etheric record, and my instructions began. This is the Sahara Desert, he said, when it was fertile country having semi-tropical climate. This is the Sahara Desert having fertile, a semi-tropical climate in the Sahara Desert, y'all. I was reading, I forgot which book it was that I was reading it's in. It might have been Alien Agenda. And they were talking about the Sahara Desert. There was a government there, and very powerful government. Something happened, and they didn't want anyone to know of it because, like Egypt, they had, things written in stone, techniques, magic techniques, all kind of stuff all around, and many magical objects like you would find in Area 51 or Area 13 or some of these places where they house these magical uh, technology that was left by civilizations that were before us, right? Okay. I heard in this book where they brought sand from other worlds in such profusion to that whole region of the Sahara was a government. And they piled this sand up 600 feet high to hide this government. Now, what was there that they would go to such lengths to hide that government? The whole Sahara. Nonetheless, this is what we're reading here. There were many streams of water carrying abundant moisture everywhere in the land. In the midst of this empire lay the capital, famous throughout the world for its splendor. The executive buildings were placed in the center upon a slight elevation, and from these the city itself extended equally in every direction. Sounds like the place in South America. Anyway, no, but that's the Sahara. But it sounds like that place. The civilization, he went on, rose to its apex 70,000 years ago. Interesting. We entered the city and felt an unusual rhythmic activity that gave one a strange sensation of lightness while walking. The people all moved about with great ease and grace. I asked Saint Germain the reason for this, and he replied, these people remembered their source and knew themselves as sons of God. Hence, we're the possessors and operators of powers and wisdom that to you may seem miraculous and superhuman. Truthfully speaking, there are no such things as miracles, for all is according to law, and that which seems miraculous to the present concept of humanity is but the results of the application of the laws to which mankind presents consciousness is present consciousness is accustomed, and so seem strange and unusual. So in other words, what we call miracles are our lack of knowledge of the laws that these phenomena uh, are guided under, and so seem strange and unusual. When the reality of life is correctly understood, all manifestations that seem miraculous to your present consciousness is found to be just as natural and normal an experience as the forming of words are to one who has learned to use the alphabet. It is all the action of an inner expanding, ever progressing manifestation of life in form, and this comes about at all times through an orderly process of law and love and peace. I want to ask, does anybody have any questions? I'd really like to hear some of the questions from the listening audience. I don't particularly like the preaching aspect, even though this is a study group and we're studying. Does anyone have any questions? And if you do, please put them in the chat so we could uh, uh, elaborate on them. And your question may benefit another. Worship your love for each other when engaged in the action of making love. It is not so emotional as it is spiritual, and is the merging of your soul. Physic, physic, Physical intimacy is just the door to this. Okay, thank you for that. Please, please send in your questions, wholeness family. Please send in your questions. Um, um, they'd be greatly appreciated, and it will benefit and help someone else who doesn't even know how to put it in or is too shy to ask. No matter how strange, unusual, and impossible an experience seems to humanity's present mental state, it is no proof that there is not a greater law and a wiser intelligence acting to produce a greater wonders of creation surrounding us all the time. The knowledge of the greatest minds of humanity. Sign me up. Laugh aloud, blah, blah. I want to learn all the areas your ancient knowledge withheld. I am grateful, increasing my wholeness and progress. Send me your Perez Nia, Nia love. Send me your name and your email, and I'll send you all that I have. Of course, it's free. The knowledge of the greatest minds of humanity in the outer world today is to this great inner wisdom and power, as the understanding of a small child is to the study of calculus. In one building of the central group, we found the attendants attired in most gorgeous fabrics of soft, radiant colors that harmonized with the interior decorations. One of these acted as guide, taking us to the central building, and there he presented us to the king of this great people. The king proved to be Saint Germain. Whoa, 70 years ago. Beside him stood a young girl, very beautiful. She had hair like spun gold that hung almost to the floor, and eyes of a piercing violet blue. Her entire bearing was one of loving command. I looked inquiringly at Saint Germain, wondering who she could be, and he answered, Lotus, who was Gaufrier King's wife. Beside her stood a young man about 20 years of age and a lad perhaps 14. The young man was he whom we had seen as the high priest in the temple at Luxor, and the lad was the lesser priest. These were the children of the king. Again, we four were working together. So now that was something. Now I read this book more than once, y'all, and that was something that slipped over my mind. I did not realize that uh, uh, Lotus was the wife of Saint Germain at one time, and that Godfrey Wade King was his son. That is deep. That is so deep. And another 70,000 years ago. 70,000 years ago. Wow. And this is when I heard, I had read in other of my research that Saint Germain has been benefiting humanity for 70,000 years. I'm wondering, is it even more now, or did they just tell us of 70,000? Anyway, interesting. Beside her stood. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like you had a little problem there, brother.
Yeah, it's back.
All right,
Um,
good. I think he was reading. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I want to go over this part one more time because I want to get a clear understanding of the relationship between them. In one building, it was real. One of these acted as a guide, taking us to the thing. The king proved to be Saint Germain. Beside him stood a young girl, very beautiful. She had hair spun like gold that hung almost to the floor, and eyes of a piercing violet blue. Her entire bearing was one of loving command. I looked inquiring at Saint Germain, wondering who she could be, and he answered, Lotus. Okay. Beside her stood a young man about 20 years old, 20 years of age, and a lad, perhaps 14. The young man was he whom we had seen as the high priest in the temple of Luxor, which was his son in this life. And the lad was the lesser priest, which was Godfrey Ray King. These were the children of the king. Again, we four were working together. So when he said these were the children of the king, he didn't say, but he said that these were her children. Beside us stood a young man about 20 years. So he didn't say that these were her children. He said that these were his children. So all of these were Saint Germain's children. Lotus, Godfrey Ray King, as well as their son. All right. This is really interesting. This is really interesting because I'm wondering. So they're going from life to life to life like this, hanging, doing the work of God for humanity. Okay. With this glimpse of former lives, he said. With this glimpse of former lives, he said, let us enter into the activity of that blessed people. I say blessed advisedly, and you shall soon see why. The majority of them still retain the full conscious use of all their wisdom and power as sons of God. So they were God conscious beings 70,000 years ago. And this they yield almost without limit, knowing full well from whence they sprang and to what they were heirs. The outer was but the instrument of the divine self, as it should be, and was only permitted to do that which it was created. Naturally, the great inner self could act unfettered, and of course, the perfection and activity of that period was one of magnificent accomplishment. At the time of this former civilization, the whole empire was filled with great peace, happiness, and prosperity. The king emperor was a master of the ancient wisdom and a real cupbearer of the light. He ruled by the light, and his empire was a living example of perfection. All right. I want to pick this up. I want to pick this up next week because it's almost 12:30, and I want to know where we are. AP America, whole page America. Okay, so this was America, they're saying. Okay, all right, all right.
So
Um,
I want to touch on something because
uh-huh.
I saw a comment, and there's a few comments I would like to respond to. First thing that came to mind was logic, bliss, family. It seems like every now and then I would have a particular crystal. I would have a crystal on that when I lay still, I would get heartgasms. I'm talking about heartgasms. I'll be filled with bliss. You hear me? But it's on the cellular level. And I just want to share the reason uh, when you wear a quartz crystal over your heart chakra family, it creates something called morphic resonance. What that simply means is the organization of a crystal, like you could see through it, is perfectly clear.
it heals the heart because of we being brokenhearted in this dungeon cycle of time that the worst of humanity, the worst of souls have incarnated right now onto the planet, regardless of the color of your skin shirt. Consider yourself the worst of humanity if you are incarnated on the planet right now. You was banned to Boogie Land from past life karma. That means that you are low ragged soul, but your divinity is supreme. But you owe. So back to earth you go, because nobody gets off the planet without balancing the energy of creation. Or you decided, maybe like Logic, you decided to come down and help these confused pre-K souls to find their divinity again. Because like the movie Inception, you can get lost in your own dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. Your soul can get that lost because you God. You God. So you create your own delusion like a funky onion, one layer at a time, and invoking our I am is to get you out of the multi-layered funk that you have generated from one incarnation to the other. And I just love to watch people who consider themselves like radicals. You know, radicals sometimes remind me where I was reading about in Edgar Casey saying, yeah, the radicals, sometimes the radicals are the ones who created the nonsense, but they got sucked back in. So they got to straighten things out because they sucked it in. They jacked it up in a past life. All right. But to answer your question, Sylvia, why is Saint Germain depicted as a European? I don't know what kind of shirt you got on today, but why would you wear the same black shirt, or why would you wear the same white shirt, or why would you wear a dress versus a pair of pants? Because in this world, they take on, have you ever heard, Sylvia and family, the author called Octavia Butler? She would talk about advanced souls would use a body like a shirt or a jacket at a drop of a hat, jump into another one. And whether it be blue, whether it be a reptilian jacket, whether it be a dog head jacket, we are more than our bodies. When will we get past the trauma to remember you are a light source and you are in a spacesuit? Now, the type of spacesuit you have, don't get cross-eyed, delusionally, hypnotically stuck. You got on a spacesuit, and your next time you have on a spacesuit, it might be in the shape of a truck. I'm just saying, this universe is full of suits. So don't get caught up in the suit, because the light spectrum of what we see is 0.003. The rest of it's dark matter and dark energy. So you get cross-eyed over 0.003 of the light spectrum of 99% invisible matter and dark matter. I'm just saying. That's all I want to say.
Sister Nicole has a question. And she says, how does one realign yourself with the law once you realize you're not in alignment?
Hey, darling, I was calling you on a break. Want to say Happy Mama's Day? I got to go back in the studio. You're looking lovely. Ooh la la, ooh la la, ooh la la. I'll call you back later.
All right.
All right, so to answer Sister Nicole's question, you realign yourself through prayer, through decrees, through chanting, through meditation, through studying the scriptures, and being easy on yourself, forgiving yourself that you get out of alignment, and slowly but surely get yourself back into alignment. Let me give you a secret of how I got myself back into alignment. I was doing the practices, right? And was going a good 2 years with the people out in California. And it was really great. We ended it, after 2 years of preparation, I go out there. After a year of preparation, I go out there, we do grandma. And we do grandma and grandpa, ayahuasca and bufo. One day, bufo, next day. One day ayahuasca, very next day, we're doing bufo. And very, very great. Very, very great. Great experience. So I got them people next year, we going, I had to go get a job. And I felt like, man, I literally only had time to go to work, eat, go to sleep, and go back to work. I had to leave out the house at 4:45. I didn't get back until 7. And once I finished eating, I either fell asleep or it was time to go to sleep, right? And I was trying to do my practice. I was hitting and missing, but keep trying. Then I thought to myself, look, there are other people who want to do this with you. Why don't you invite them in to let you do it? This way, you have to come and be responsible because other people are dependent on you. So what did it do for me? Right? What it did for me was I got to be in the morning to meet the people who said they want to chant, pray, meditate, and all like that, right? So what does it do for me? It forces me to meet the people to do God's work because I said I would. So meeting people in the morning helps me to realign myself with my practices because I have to be responsible for them. I call people to join us in the morning to do the practices, and they come. And if I'm not there, then I'm a piece of crap. This is how I get myself back into alignment with the help of my brothers and sisters who want to also be in alignment. Be responsible to them. They know that you're going to be there, so they come. But if you miss a day, they're going to wonder, are you going to miss another day? If you miss 2 or 3 days, next thing you're going to find is your support group that you're actually running has dissipated because you weren't responsible. You weren't reliable. If you want to realign yourself with your own God self, or getting back into the Dean, getting back into your practices as you know, whether it's all of the techniques, or it's just prayer, or it's just chanting, or it's just mantra, or it's just meditation, whatever it is that you decided that you are going to do, right? What you do is you take on the responsibility of others. Then you can realign yourself with yourself. If this is what you mean, if it's something that you've done that makes you feel you're out of alignment, then correct yourself. Correct your character, correct what you're doing, and realign yourself with yourself. If there is ego in there, know that you're out of alignment 100%. If you get ego in your pursuit of God, you are way out of alignment. So the way to realign yourself is through the techniques. Daily prayer, decrees, chanting, meditation, mantra, service to God, study of scriptures, and divine works. These will help you align yourself. If you can't get into the practices, then just read the scriptures. Read the stories in the scriptures, and they inspire and motivate you to just get back into yourself, which is God. So I hope I gave you some assistance in how to realign yourself. And one of the things you could also do is come join us in the morning. You want to, if you want to just have a format where you can just come and be a part. We start in the morning, 7:30, and we go to 9:45, doing prayer, decrees, chanting, mantra, and meditation.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Laji. I want to say, family, because of time constraints, I want to thank everyone for your participation now and in the future. You can get in touch with Brother Laji. Look at the number at the bottom. Any questions as far as his book source and all that, you can call him. I want to thank Laji's twin flame, J. Dean. Thank you, J. Dean, for all of your technical support and wisdom. And God bless. May the force be with you. May the force be with Laji. And may the force be with you, family. As you listen, you need to listen to this show perhaps more than once. Remember, you are I am with amnesia. And the repetition, as Laji spoke of, is to peel back the hypnotic amnesia that you created for yourself. You created it. And sometimes you can uncreate, but we always creating with our conscious thoughts and our subconscious thoughts. So as Laji was saying, continuously chanting I am affirmations will create the ripple in the atomic sand, atomic crystals of your being, and your subconscious mind will be programmed and aligned so that you can make magic happen every day in every way. Because yes, you are worthy, because you are the skin suit characters of an untold number of three-dimensional holographic movies. We are all that ever was. That means you are the mountains, you are the crystals, you are the oceans, you are the stars. We are all that. That's what it means when you say I am. Yes, I am. And as Laji would probably say, what's the word? Namaste?
Namaste.
Tell them what that
Namaste.
is, Laji, before we close out.
Namaste means the light within me bows to the light within you. It's a greeting. You know, when you greet people, you say namaste, and in so doing, you're saying that I bow to you. I bow to the God within you is what you're actually saying. Yeah. Someone was speaking about the grammar of this word. Namaskar is like when you're speaking to someone with respect, and namaste is when you're speaking to someone you know, familiar to you. Like ustedes in Spanish, ustedes and tú. Tú is familiar, people that you know and they're familiar with you. Ustedes is like you're showing respect to an elder, like that. That's the difference between namaste and namaskar.
Yeah, thank you, brother. We're going to wrap it up, family. I want to thank everyone for being on the platform. I want to say again, happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful divine goddesses in source. Oh, you know, that was a good, there's a lot of ascended masters, sisters, whoever asked that question, and they can take any shape and form. But the ones that's known is, you know, goddess of love, known by many names, Oshun, Venus, Aphrodite. This is the goddess of love with different names. So don't get stuck on your monkey mind. Remember, you have a sea of ascended master ocean of love. And that's where we going. Slow jamming to the sounds of Motown, Philly sounds, with devotional bhakti and patience and repetition and persistence. And you'll get there, as Brother Laji said. Thank you, Laji. I want to say thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
You're very welcome, my brother. Thank you.
You know, just like a crystal, we're going to become that light source activation by acoustical determination. Remember, patience and persistence is better than genius. I want to give another thank you to Miss Bliss. She's a mom and more. So thank you, Miss Bliss, for holding it down. And make each day a celebration, family, because nobody gets off the planet with their suit on. You'll rise like balloons into the sky, but let your heart be light as a feather every day and every way. So thank you. Next time we get together, we're looking at Monday. We're going to, me and Miss Bliss is looking at putting together a program. This amazing tea that I was drinking called Kinkaliba and Gayusa. Gayusa tea and Kinkaliba tea. The benefits, the miraculous benefits of this blend. We're going to talk about the benefits. And Crystal Angel, Garrett, hold that until next time because we're getting ready to get out of here. But Monday, we're doing a show about Gayusa and Kinkaliba. So I want to thank all of you. And Laji, any closing word before? Do that chant, brother, so that we
Okay.
can close out with your chant.
Okay, I'll do it. And anybody who wants to join us to do the practices in the morning to realign yourself, or just to learn the knowledge of prayer, decrees, chanting, meditation, send me your name and link, and love from the UK. You can join us in the morning. It's all free and it's very powerful. Also, we're doing a study group, the UCC study group. I wasn't going to mention it, but a lot of people in our group are getting paid. I'm afraid to tell you.
Hold that, Laji. Hold that for next week. We'll
Cool.
make that announcement. Let's just get ready to get out of here.
All right, cool. Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsara Harine Bhaktakaye Dedehaya Namaste Chitsaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Mrtaye Nish Prapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Vavaktu Sahano Bunaktu Sahaviryam Karnava Vahe Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vivisha Vahe Om Shanti 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 Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Have a great weekend.
Say often, yes, I am. Supreme shield of protection surrounding me. Yes, I am. Yes, I am remembering all I was born to do. Yes, I am. Take hold of your crystal, which will magnify your I am affirmations at least 600%. If you don't have a pistol, you better have a crystal.